Hi, I'm breaking these up into three different sections. The introduction was what I began with, just kind of explaining the overview of what we do with our grade 9 Intro to Business class, how we structure it, the order we do things in, and then kind of like, I guess, justifying or explaining these different activities, which I'm calling labs, but they're really just kind of like hands-on activities you can do in class. And I ended by explaining we have three different categories. We've got short ones, which are about 15 minutes, and that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. We've got medium length ones that are a little bit longer. You should still be able to do them in kind of like a 75-minute class. And then we finish with the longer ones. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what maybe you might want to mark on some of these things, but generally any of them could be done without marking. Up here in the corner, I'll pause for a second, or you can hit pause because it's a video. And that thing there, through the magic of phones and internet, should take you to the Google Drive where all of the resources I'm going to be looking at are shared. And if it doesn't work, there's also going to be a link posted in the comments to the video. So today we're going to talk about short labs, and I'm just going to do this all from this one slide and kind of pop in on them. And some of them aren't even going to actually require me to do anything, because I just do this when I introduce marketing. I have a glass Coke bottle, and it's stored away right now because of COVID, because I don't do this, or I didn't do this activity anytime while we were in school the last little while, and I'm still probably not going to do it this time. So it's something you can file away, maybe think about. I take a glass Coke bottle, which you can kind of find probably in most stores where you are, and I put it into a cloth shopping bag, and I go around the room, and students reach into the bag, kind of like the Halloween haunted house thing where it's like spaghetti or grapes, but in this case it's a glass Coke bottle. It's a hard surface. You can wipe it down between classes, and you could do the hand sanitizer thing at any point if people are worried about touching it. And students don't have to do this if they don't want to. But anyway, they reach into the bag, and without looking or I don't know, anything else other than their sense of touch, try to figure out what type of product it is, and not only what type of product. So the example I usually say is, if there's a shoe here in the bag, and then I clarify that it's not a shoe because it's kind of gross to touch one, but I say, if there was a shoe in the bag, I'd like you to figure out not only that it's a shoe, but also what brand of shoe it is. And it's kind of like an interesting little social experiment you can do in your class. They're like, kids will be competitive. You will have to stress and warn them ahead of time. Please do not say out loud what it is until you get all the way around the room, because I have a slide that I pull up in my class and say, I'm going to come around. You're going to reach in here. Don't pull the Coke bottle out of the bag. Don't look into the bag, and don't say what you think it is. So you have to give them all these cautions, because people kind of get psyched up for this for whatever reason. And I've had students, like the third student in, they just pull it out of the bag totally by accident, just because they were like, so whatever, into whatever we're doing. So anyway, give them a heads up ahead of time to not look in the bag themselves, not to take the bottle out, and don't say what they think it is until I get around the whole class. If you can get those three things down, then you're going to find that when it's all said and done, there's probably anywhere from 50 to 75% of the students will know that not only it's a soda bottle, that it is a Coca-Cola bottle. And then we just have a conversation about why that is, why a company like, no one studied for this last night. No one went home and like blindfolded themselves and went through their cabinets and their pantry and like touched all the different things in their home just so they could ace this Coke bottle test in business class. There's a reason why they know what it is, and it's because Coke is a huge brand. They've been marketing for like over 100 years now, and they've had that bottle shape for most of that time. So students generally like know what it is, even if they're not regular Coke drinkers, even if they don't drink soda at all, or even if they are Coke drinkers and they don't purchase it in a glass bottle. So there's a bunch of variables that are kind of like unusual for students to be able to identify, even for a well-known brand like cola. And it's kind of our jumping off point for all the branding stuff we talk about in marketing in this unit. The next thing is the Ponzi scheme. And if you remember in the last little video, I talked about our Ross School of Business money that we make. So you're going to need some play money. You could do this with Monopoly money. You could do this with, make your own. You could do this with, I don't know, like I guess Dollarama or whatever has fake money you could buy from there too. So you're going to need a number of it. And actually it works better. We only have our Ross bucks in $100 bill denominations. And I have put a little link here. I'm just going to hover over it. It's not going to pop up. Anyway, it's a link to the closing credits to the movie The Other Guys, which like a Will Ferrell, Wahlberg thing from a few years ago. And in the closing credits, they've got like this nice kind of infographic animation explaining how a Ponzi scheme works. So if you don't know personally how one works, which like, why would you? You're a good and decent human being. If you'd like to learn, their credits explain it pretty well. And then it goes on to explain like all the different, costs that were attached to like Bernie Madoff and his Ponzi scheme and all the, different taxpayer funded things that had to go into bailing it all out. Anyway, I've just included the link here. You can either show it to class or just watch it yourself. Basically, with this money, I go around and in the first few rows, I'll give them maybe like $200 or $300 each, and I'll just go to all those students, give them that money, and then I'll explain that I am running the Mr. Hicken Investment Fund, and I'm encouraging them all to invest with me because I can give them, good returns, and they're going to really do well. So I don't really let them choose here. I just go to all the students who I just gave money, and I get it back from them, and I'll go to like 5 or 6 students in the first row of class, say get their money, and then I will say, hey, it's the first year. And so the why we use the money is they can actually physically see their money. They don't have to imagine that they gave me some and that I'm not actually investing it. I'm just kind of holding it in my hand, and then I am paying them a return. But it's not a return in the sense that their investment has grown. I am just literally returning their own money back to them, and it's creating the illusion that they've made money. And that's how like the Ponzi scheme gets going. And then I'll say, all right, it's a new year in the Mr. Hicken Investment Fund. Who else is interested in investing? Look at the great return. Like if you gave out $300 and they make $300 and they made $100 return, that's like a very, very incredible return for their first year. And so I say you're going to tell your friends, and they'll maybe pretend to tell the students in the second row, and I'll get money from those kids. And we'll do this a couple times. And oftentimes I'll say, hey, you know what? Like, why don't you just reinvest your money back with me and keep your returns with me, and I can make that grow even more for you. So we'll do it a couple little, maybe 2 or 3 rounds of this. I may not get through my whole class with it, just the first few rows. And then at some point, I just take like all the money from my Ponzi scheme and I leave the classroom. I just step out the door into the hall to show them you're not actually growing this. This isn't in a real investment. It's just with me. And then I leave and run away. And then I always couch this and saying I am teaching you this so you understand it, not so that you can run one. It's one of my great nightmares that someday one of my students will be on the news from running the Ponzi scheme that I showed them how to avoid in class. Okay, this third one is a small activity we do when we do business ethics. And so I'm going to escape here for a second. I have a link, if I hover over this. It's a Rick Mercer report rant from many years ago now, just talking about elevators and escalators and just basic human decency around how people should behave in those situations, and him just walking around talking about it. What we do in class, and this is something that, all these files are in that folder with that link I sent you to. I have them pick something that they're angry about, and it should be something obviously that they feel strongly about, but not something, I don't know, too serious. I feel like probably in English or history or many other classes, they're welcome to, but it's kind of more fun to structure this with something that's a little bit, I'm not going to say meaningless, but a little bit minor, like Rick Mercer's complaint around how people behave on escalators and in elevators. So anyway, I've suggested things like a movie that you went to see because the trailer made it look like it was going to be one type of movie, and then when you went and saw it, it was completely different than what the trailer promoted it as, or clothing you bought that fell apart or didn't fit the way it said it was going to, or became unstylish, or maybe your cell phone provider for tricking you on your data and you don't have as much coverage as you thought you were going to get, those sorts of things. And I get them to structure it exactly this way that you can see on your screen right now. Who is the target? So what company misled you or whatever? Why are you upset at them? What is your big complaint? And supporting evidence for this. I saw the trailer, it made me think this about the movie. It was actually this type of movie. Just pretty straightforward like that. Like it doesn't have to be like facts and figures. It can just be anecdotal. They're just having fun with this. The real reason is this fourth piece. I want them to suggest a solution that they would propose to the company if they, often this, like in the old timey days of our pioneer ancestors, they would write angry letters to companies. But now this could be the form of an angry email, a tweet, a social media post of some sort, where you're going to complain to the company and you're going to suggest how they could fix it. And it should be like a reasonable and proportional fix. So if you're angry about a movie, you might want your money back. If you're angry about clothing, you might want a refund or an extended exchange policy or some kind of those things. Because I'm really, what I'm trying to teach with this is not only the corporate ethics piece, like if a company lied to you or you felt lied to by a company, this is an appropriate way to respond. But this fourth piece is going to separate you from the rest of the complaining masses online, the people that just rant and complain about things, but don't suggest the next step a company could take. And it's not like it's going to be a perfect solution for them, but if you do suggest what the company could do to make things right, you're far more likely to actually get some sort of satisfaction out of them versus just have to wait and complain and tweet angry tweets about it. So anyway, here we are. There's where we are. The fourth one is a credit activity, and I do this in our personal finance unit, which is, as I said in the last video, what we start our course with. And we finish with a little look at credit. And what I've created with this is, these are all in Google Doc format. In the folder itself, there are rich text RTF files for whatever, I guess, tool you're on. Where is it? Whom do you trust? There we go. And I've invented, here we go, 6 imaginary friends for you and a scenario for these friends. So you've inherited or won, or people were very generous on your birthday or something. You have $1,000 personally right now. You have friends, and you have this weird relationship with your friends where they like to borrow money, and it's okay to borrow money between each other, and you can charge each other interest. It's one of those kind of weird friendships. Anyway, each of your 6 friends has come to you with a need to borrow $100 from you. So you could lend to all 6 of them if you want and still have money left over, or you could lend to 0. But if you do lend to them and they're good credit risks and they pay interest, then you can actually make some money on your $1,000 and end up with even more money. So who wouldn't want that? So that's the weird, bizarre scenario I set up for the students. And then either on their own or with the neighbor, they're going to read these little profiles of these 6 individuals, explaining what they want the money for, and they have to then analyze them based on the 3 C's of credit that we've had our note on, and decide whether they would actually lend to them, yes or no. So do they trust their character? Are they reliable? Do you think they will actually pay you back? Do they have capacity for this? Is there a job? Is there some other form of income to borrow money? And finally, do they have any capital? If they don't pay you back, if they for whatever reason aren't able to be the trustworthy risk you thought, is there something you could like seize, like some collateral, and take away and sell and recover your money that way? So all of these people have various facts and figures about them. And then I don't have it on this sheet, but on my slide, and you can access my slideshows through our website, which I'll post a link to as well. On the slide, it says like suggested interest rate. So if it's a low risk, it's like 0 to 3%, like they're 100% certain that you're going to pay them back. You just want to make a bit of money on it. Over that, like say like 4 to 10% maybe is our like moderate risk level. And then our high risk things anywhere from like 12 to 25%, like credit card interest type things here. And over that, I'm like, if you're going to charge more, they just don't lend them money. They're just not a good credit risk. So we go through this. I let them have some time to talk to their neighbors. We kind of either fill this in on a smartboard file or we just talk about them. There are some good little red herrings in here, like people that sound like they're maybe good credit risk, but they don't actually have a job or any way to pay it back. And most of these are open to interpretation. Like I've kind of like could see both sides of less like, yes, I would lend, or no, I would not. So you can have lots of conversations around that. And finally, our short labs here. You can see the blistering speed of the Chromebook. No. We've gone too far. Okay. No. Also there. Finally, I have this Hammacher Schlemmer, the website where they sell weird stuff. I'll pull up something. And so the link I've got is to this crazy pocket knife thing. It is the world's largest or most expensive or something multifunction penknife. It like has all those. That's a real photo of it that I've grabbed and pulled into the slide. The link is in the slide that you can access as well. But there's just so many things on that website. So I'll usually pick a fairly expensive thing. The other thing I've done is there's a killer whale submarine. There's this like custom submarine thing you can order that looks like a killer whale, and you drive it and go underwater and whatever. And it's like thousands of dollars. So anyway, what I have the students do in the promotion or branding section of the unit is come up with a promotion you would do for this. And so remember, promotion's got to be something like short term. It's going to increase sales right now, and it will be in keeping with your brand. So I usually use examples like McDonald's Monopoly or Roll Up the Rim, those kinds of things. And oftentimes students will gravitate towards like, let's discount this, let's sell it for a cheaper price, or let's do a buy one, get one free on it. So you can have interesting conversations about what makes effective promotions, and maybe something that is effective for like an affordable or staple type good, like giving away free coffee, or like having a little like contest to win things, may not necessarily be an on-brand promotion for something like an $800 jackknife. And usually what we end up coming around to is like we talk about target market, because that's one of the areas I find students at all levels struggle with the concept of a target market. They don't like the idea of excluding potential customers. And I want them to get into thinking like, we're not excluding people at all. What we're trying to do is figure out who actually would want to buy this product and appeal to that type of customer mostly. Other people could still buy it. Like if any of you wanted to save up your allowances and buy an $800 jackknife, there's nothing to stop you. But the most likely customer for this is probably someone with lots of like disposable income and buys novelty stuff like this, mostly to show off. So we end up then talking about like, maybe you get somebody like a Bear Grylls or a Survivor Man or somebody like famous outdoorsy person to autograph the knife. Or you get like a 1 day or a 1 hour experience with them where Bear Grylls will take you and this knife out and show you some of the cool stuff you can do to survive. And that suddenly that $800, and even maybe it's just a contest to win this opportunity, it's going to be maybe more appealing to a wealthier or an upper middle class customer who might be looking to buy this sort of thing. The other option we talk about is maybe include like a free display case or some kind of like those glass bubbles where you put this thing under and have it on display, because I imagine the person owning this has it in like their study, their wood paneled study with like, I don't know, hunting trophies or things on the wall, and then they bring people in there to show off their ridiculous Guinness World Record pocket knife. So anyway, like students are going to come up with all sorts of ideas, and that's kind of my take on it, but I've heard other people talk about other things. Anyhow, those are the short labs, and as I mentioned, the QR code and the link are here if you want to play with any of them. I encourage you by all means to edit, share, whatever, do whatever you like with these. And if you need more information, I am available via email. Thanks very much, and we'll talk next time about the medium labs.